I don't know. There we go.
We are
Hello,
finally
hello,
live.
hello, Anne-Marie. Hello, Cake Eternal. How are you? If you were just joining Virtual Trek on, you might catch the last couple of seconds of the Roddenberrys are over being absolute deadly on their channel. They were a lot of fun. So thank you very much, Walter. Greetings. Thank you very much. Hello, Michael. How are you getting on? By the way, sorry, before you get anything, if you haven't had a look at Michael's downloads and graphics that he's put over on Twitter so far, go and do that right now. Anyway, hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special live episode of the Clone Star Pod. I am, of course, your host, Sean Ferrick, and joining me is the man, the myth, the oft-heard, yet not oft-seen, Joseph Hurley. How are you, sir?
I was actually so confused. I was about to say my name is Sean Ferrick, and I was realizing, wait a second, that's not right. Also, I see Bob D in the comments has got both of us on two tabs. Bob, that is very smart planning altogether. Make sure don't miss out on anything.
I am. That is very, very good thinking there, Bob. You are a good man. I have because of technology. I'm going to throw this out to the ground. I've just texted the wonderful Joseph to say I can hear all of what I'm saying coming straight back through my ears.
You still can you? Because I do not have anything on right now.
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Oh, Grant.
But anyway, so that's great. Anyway, Christopher has not heard of this podcast before. Already subscribed. Thank you very much. Did I call Joseph an off turd? I would never call him an off turd. If anything, he's as on as they come. Hello, Jenner. Some background music is always good. This is very true. So hello, Lynn. Right. Okay. So hello, everyone. It is absolutely lovely to hear you all, see you all. Well, more so hear you all, and also I'm going to name and shame myself, Joseph. I had the tab open. It was me. It was.
I knew it. I absolutely knew it.
I was doing one of those things, everyone, where you don't know, you have 75 tabs open and you don't know which one is playing the music. It was me, and I was blaming poor Joseph for this. Arrived at 13:02. JR Pool. That's just not acceptable.
Sorry, I have to jump in here. Connor has correctly spotted my T-shirt. Connor, I said to Sean beforehand, will someone pick up my Club Obi-Wan T-shirt? I should have known Connor would get it. Well done, Connor. You're the first person to pick it up straight away.
All right, Connor. Then I tell you what. So, Connor, as a gift, type up a question in the comments there, and we will absolutely ask it. Ellie calls me a melon. Erin says hi, everyone, and I think they're both wonderful. Okay, so what we were going to do?
We're not going to do something. I'm going to jump in straight away because I have a quote for you, and it's an interesting one, and it's really important that I say this. You remember the episode from the original series, Mirror, Mirror, right?
I do.
And the first time we see evil Kirk and the crew, they're being dragged to the brig, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And the evil Kirk says to Spock, he says, what are these uniforms? Where's my personal guard? And then the last thing he says is, where's your beard? So, Sean, everybody's been asking for the last couple of days, where has your beard disappeared after?
Right. Well, now, there's actually, I have to say, there is a thrilling story behind it. In that I went away to Los Angeles. I stood in a desert for about 3 hours, completely forgetting the fact that I'm Irish. And by the time I got home, every part of my face just felt like I needed to remove it. So I started with the beard, and then about 4 layers of skin came off the rest of me as well. So I've done a page 1 reset, and unfortunately, I don't look like I did back when you could call me page 1. So so don't worry, everyone. The beard is on its way back. I don't know how long it will take. I've literally been sitting here just trying to push the hair out of my face for the last week. But yes, there was some interesting reactions to the ups and downs that we did there last Thursday. I think people got a bit of a fright, but don't worry, everyone. Don't worry. It's on the way back. What we need to do as well is just really quick. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much to the wonderful Virtual TrekCon 4 for hosting us. It's really, really, really excited to be a part of this. I mean, look at the lineup. Obviously Show deserves a place here. The Show deserves to be like headliner. I'm the little creep that just kind of kind of scoots in with no beard and it's like, hello. I knew it would be the Irish blame. Absolutely, Bob. Hello, Amber. So I just want to say big thank you so much to Virtual TrekCon. Hopefully this will not be an absolute disaster show. Actually, it looks like we're in 2 different locations, but he is standing just off screen with a cattle prod. And if I go too far off script, he's just going to that's it. That's game over for me. Anne-Marie, we love you too. So... Joseph, when are we getting the DS9 Watch Along?
Oh, we can't be discussing that under any circumstances. No, nobody wants a DS9 Watch Along. I don't think we've ever been asked about it or anything along those lines. So, unfortunately, the war room is kind of taken over without us actually realizing it.
Steve, there's a script. That's a very good point, Steve. And Melissa Longo, very nice to see you here. How are you getting on? The last time I saw that lovely Melissa Longo, I think I ran past her in a lobby in Las Vegas, and I kind of went, "Hello." So that was me. It was a stalker, but it was me. Don't worry. So I am not allowed to discuss. So one of the questions we got ahead of today was, when are we going to get back to our season watch-alongs? Because we have done now, maybe watch-along is maybe the wrong description, but our season breakdowns. We've done all of the original series, we've done the animated series, and we've done the Next Generation. And I'm not going to go into too much. There's so much there that you can go back and look. We had a lot of fun doing them. And so the next one on the slate, because we've done the movies as well, the next one on the slate is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which, I've obviously played this really close to the chest. Everyone who knows me knows how much I can't stand Deep Space Nine. Oh, it's just it's not Star Trek. It's just not Star Trek. There's just, I can't even pretend. It's obviously the best Star Trek, in my opinion. We will be doing that, but I have been told that that's all I can say, because there is apparently, I am very you might look at me as a co-host, he says, completely. I'm just monologuing at this point because, but you might look at me as a co-host, but actually, Show has all of the power. I am a puppet that is put in front of a camera and a microphone. I have not fought any of this. I very much enjoy being this kind of puppet. But yes, Show is literally the man with all of the power. So he's got plans within schemes within other plans. You'd think I would be better at language, but really I'm not. DS9 is the New Vegas of Star Trek. DS9 is the literal definition of they Futurama'd up 2001: A Space Odyssey. So they wouldn't let the DS9 crew onto that orbiting station in 2001, and it's Bender standing outside going, "All right, never mind. We'll make our own station with blackjack and hookers." That's kind of DS9 in a nutshell. All right, Joseph, before I run out of breath, how are you?
You better get some questions, Sean, because I've listened to monologue for a while, and I'd say that I'm looking at your mug there. What's it say? Set phasers to what?
Fet phasers to stun, because I am now falling all over my place with my language. So this is from the lovely Stefan. Thank you very much. And also, just really quick, because I know she's here in the chat. Thank you very much, Amber, for my lovely T-shirt. My species initiated first contact, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. I am very, very happy with that one. So, Joseph, do you have any questions for me?
No, but we've some questions that people on Twitter asked us over the last few days we can fire along with.
That is right. That was implied by the question, sir. So, all right. Okay. So, here's a good question. So, from Sean O'Sullivan, how do you and Show know each other? Fair bit of distance between Limerick and Jackinville. So,
I think he means Dublin when he says that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, that's true, and it would be quite far. I do not live in Dublin, but that's fine. So so how do we know each other? So it's it's Show's fault.
There's no point blaming me. So basically, what happened was I randomly came across that Sean was working for Trek Culture and writing articles, and I had the desire to do it once and try and give it a go. I didn't have the kind of unique qualities that Sean has in terms of especially doing videos or anything like that. So I wanted to write something about the animated series because, well, nobody talks about the animated series. So I figured kind of 10 facts about the animated series is the way to go. So I messaged him and kind of asked him about, that. And he gave me a hand with it. That was fine. And we kind of kept in touch, whatever. But when Sean on his old podcast put out a feeler for people to come on and do different movies, I said I'd jump on with him. And before you knew it, I was kind of guest starring, fairly regularly on it. So in the end, I said to Sean that we have to, look at doing our own Star Trek podcast ourselves. But I didn't want it just to be, because, like, in fairness, there's about 800 million Star Trek podcasts out there. I didn't want it to be just something that would be, say, just generic. I wanted to try and be something kind of a bit different. So the idea of the season reviews came up with picking 5 episodes each, which we then did, and that was fine. Took off from there. But we've actually only ever met each other once in person, and we've known each other for cheapers nearly 3 years now. I think it is, Sean. I'd
Yeah.
say close to that.
Probably
So
got to that, yeah.
yeah, so we've only actually met each other once in person. So the majority of the time, it's normally, say, interactions over WhatsApp, where I'll say to Sean, I have 800 million ideas for where we're going to go with this podcast. And Sean responding, yes, that's absolutely fine. And that's fairly regularly what our kind of interactions would be. I normally do get pulled by Sean, though, because I will text him in, first thing in the morning about something, but I won't say, hi, Sean. And he'll respond by saying, I'm very well, thanks. How are you? So he does remind me that I have to be kind of polite when I send him messages.
Yeah, that's true. I am a bit of a git. I'm not going to lie. I am a little bit of a git, but it's because this man's brain does not stop. So this is one of the first things I learned about Show, was that he he's just always thinking of, so he's always like 5 plans ahead. So when you came to me with the idea of doing something for the animated series, there's Trek Culture telling me they can't stand me, and fair. But when you came to me with that idea, I was like, yeah, this is great. This is great. Little did I know, he'd already lined up like 11 guests for the War Room at this point, and had already like written X amount of thing and that. And it was it just evolved so naturally. As you say, like, we just straight away just bounced off each other so well. We don't always agree on everything, which is part of the enjoyment. So like we'll have some things we love. Show loves The Last Jedi, for example. He really loves The Last Jedi. Whereas I could take or leave it. It's fine film. But like things like that.
That'd be coming soon in an update in a future episode of Sinistar, part of the Clone Star podcast.
That's true as well. I mean, like, kind of like, in fairness, yes, plug, there is the Sinistar. So actually, that was one thing. So when the Clone Star started, it was just the Clone Star. But then the War Room came out of that when we wanted to reach out to people and see. Well, I say we. No. I mean, like, this is entirely Show's fault. Reach out to people for interviews, see who would like to come on, and actually, I have to give massive love and props to Noah Averbach-Katz, who was our very first guest on the War Room. He is wonderful. He played the wonderful Andorian Bryn. Oh God, it's been so long.
Oh my God, cancel the video. Dear God.
Oh my God. Anyway, Noah's his real name. That's the important bit. But yeah, he was wonderful. He came on and was our first guest. And like, we thought we was just going to be like a flat no from anyone. Like, who are these 2 Irish gits over here? And then then like more people kept saying yes. And like, thank you so much to everyone who has. Everyone who hasn't, you know who you are. And Show's just going like, Sean, don't alienate the people who haven't come on the podcast.
Look, we've only had 2 no's and 1 person looking for money. That was it. It's fine. It's absolutely
yeah.
fine.
And also, look, I have no problem whatsoever. People look for, we are. When I say we are unpaid, I mean, look behind me, or where are we at? I am in severe credit card debt. Okay, like, Eagle Moss. This is going to sound awful, but Eagle Moss going under was the worst thing for my heart and the best thing for my pocket. That poor company. Hello, Rose in the UK. So sorry. Long story medium. Show's passion for the animated series was really our first kind of interaction. And from there, I mean, Show knows this, and this is no secret on the pod. I was very I had seen the animated series, of course, but I was very unfamiliar with it by the time we started chatting, and it just kind of evolved from there. And then, yeah, he bullied me into making the right decision, which was initially I was very nervous about doing the war room, because I was really like, oh my god, like for the reasons I've already said, I was like, oh my god, no, I won't do this, we won't do this, we won't do that, and then basically
you kept messaging me saying to me that I'd have to jump in too, and I was there absolutely not. Like, even doing this tonight, I'm extremely nervous about it. I'd rather like put on like a mask with the X on the front of it or something like that. I'd be a lot more comfortable doing something like that. And it took a while, as much as people know you for somebody who can stand in front of the green screen, do all the videos and all that. Me trying to get you to do the interviews was actually one of the hardest things in the whole wide world to get you to actually do.
It really was. And looking back on it, well, it's easy to say now that I'm surprised it took me so long, but I was just so, because like a lot of what I do, and Chris, who is here in the chat as well, is I talk to myself. There's camera in front of me, we do our lists, and then that's that. But everyone, I'm really sorry. I am really glad to see just how much everyone is loving on Show. Can we get more love for Show? I want him.
No, please.
More
no, dear God, I can hit the end broadcast button very quickly. Trust me,
You'll do no such thing. You'll do no such thing, because I have, I have your partner has already agreed that if you try and do that, you'll be locked in that room until you do a full hour on this. Sean talks himself. You heard it here first. Wouldn't be the first time they've heard it, Sean. But do they say bloke in Ireland? Oh yeah, I say bloke.
Oh hey, God, Sean. I don't say bloke. Dear God, no.
I say, Show, there are hosts at Virtual TrekCon. We say bloke, okay? We say bloke. But yeah, so basically, thank you, Show, for keeping the pressure on me to keep this going. But also, he's just awesome, and you've heard it here first. He'll be taking the interviews from here on out.
There was a few times when interviews had to be rescheduled. I got a message like an hour beforehand. Any chance you could take that? Not a chance in hell. The amount of times I had to claim that I was stuck in work late or at a meeting when I absolutely was not. But I'm not doing it. No, there's no possibility I'm going to do that.
I'm telling everyone now that you just don't want to talk to them. That's what it is. Yeah. But actually, I tell you what. Now, here's a question from our longtime friend Chris. Chris has been wonderful. He's been with us for such a long time now. His question is, what's our favorite episode that we've done together?
I'd say we both will have very different answers to that. I'm curious what you're going to say, actually.
I think if it's just you and me, then it's it's going to be one of the series breakdowns, possibly original series. Like I really enjoyed all the Next Gen and the movies as well, but with the original series, I felt like I was rediscovering the show as well with you. But like, because this is going to sound like, everyone get your vomit buckets at the ready. I really enjoy every episode that I do with you, Show, because I really do. But yeah, now there's episodes that we've done with other people that stand out. With
I think for me, I think one that always stands out for me is the Next Generation season 6, because when we first started doing this, I remember we joked that we spent too much time trying to do episode recaps, because that was actually taking up the majority of our time, because we were so nervous about doing it. And by the time we got this Next Gen season 6, I remember talking about relics, and I remember just thinking, look, there's no story here. It's just an excuse to get Scotty into it. And we just had such a laugh, because we started really calling out the like nonsense in a good way, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But if in terms of like interviews, I couldn't look beyond the Nicholas Meyer one, only because it was total war. Like, Nicholas Meyer is the most intelligent man you'll ever come across. Like, he could probably quote the entire collected works of Shakespeare from start to finish without skipping a beat or forgetting a word. and it was probably the most intense I've ever, like, the man couldn't see it, like, but I was pumping sweat, like, and I kind of wanted to cry a few times, but I somehow got through it. Thank God it wasn't on video, because I never would have survived. I wouldn't have survived people watching my reaction when he was asking questions, like, because every 2 seconds I was pressing mute, covering my mouth, and saying a few expletives, because I was there going, this is too much altogether.
Like I remember obviously both the before and after. There was just the nerves, but he was so. I mean, he was so lovely. I think it just flowed so well. But like that was one of the ones where obviously because you took the lead and you did it so well. Because I was sitting there watching, being just like, I wouldn't have a clue how to answer that question or that question, and you kept it going really well. And I was there like, up to that point, thinking I was a semi decent interviewer and I could do this and I could do everything, and I was just like, I like your films, Mr. Meyer. I think they're really good. You're
But see,
really good.
But the thing is, I convinced myself that he'd spoken so much about the Wrath of Khan, the Undiscovered Country. I was there going, if we can try and keep the hell away from that, even though it's a Star Trek podcast, I kind of figured he might actually appreciate it more. So that's why I'd watch the 7% Solution time after time, and the day after, just because I was there going, I have to try and talk about something else. I didn't think we keep the guy on for 2 hours, like, and
Right.
I think there was one point where it was 45 minutes of me talking to him straight. And I had to text you and I said, please, Sean, I'm dying out here. This man might actually reach down the phone line and actually kill me, because I was just too scared of what to say to him.
It was like if I give him a breath, he'll jump in with some statement, and I'll be just lost. I would that was incredible. I have to say the episode we did with Sid Alexander Siddig is definitely, I think, one of the most enjoyable episodes I think we've done, just because it was so relaxed, it was so much fun. And yeah, like these are the kind of things, like these kind of things I just enjoy rubbing shoulders with the Trek people and show, I just love when there's a really nice buzz. And I'm not saying obviously there isn't really nice buzz with other ones, there obviously is, but there's not often that myself and show, because it takes 14 armed guards to get him to sit in that chair to do an interview with people. So it's not often that we get to have these kind of things, and that was a special one as well. So yeah, the Meyer one was incredible. Sid was incredible. Yeah.
But I think I think the thing is, like, and it's something that you were kind of hesitant about when we first started, about reaching out. And because a few people have asked us, how do we get these people? And like, it's almost like it's a kind of a trick we have or something like that. It's just, it's in the application and how you ask it. Because in the end, the worst they're going to say is basically, no, here's a restraining order, never contact me again. But from our point of view, like, we've always kind of said that it's about, say, bringing people on, telling them their stories, because a lot of the people we've interviewed have been behind the scenes from, say, the Next Generation, which obviously, is it's a much older show now, like. And we wanted to give them the chance to come along and talk to a new generation of fans who mightn't be aware of the work that they've put in. Like, we have an episode coming out that'll be out in the next couple of weeks where we interviewed Dan Curry. Now, to my own shame, I didn't really realize the impact Dan Curry has on Star Trek, but it's absolutely huge. And he wrote a book about it recently enough. And if you don't have it, I'd strongly encourage you to buy it. And it's brilliant. And what he's done for Star Trek is absolutely massive. And again, that was something I didn't know. I'm pretty sure, Sean, you might have been the same. But then to chat to him, because all he wanted to do was come on, tell his story. And I'm pretty sure actually he's part of Virtual Trek on. I think he is. Anyway, but if he's not, then I'm totally wrong. But like, again, that's kind of what we've done with a lot of the people we've brought on. So we wanted to kind of show a little bit of legitimacy from our point of view, in terms of saying that it's not just us reaching out to, say, Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, things like that. And it actually is us talking to people who are actually involved in Star Trek behind the scenes, because they're just as important as anybody else.
Absolutely. And like some of the people we've got to speak to, just the stories. I mean, that's the main thing. It's just getting to hear the stories, the experience, because it's so exciting to speak to the actors. I mean, I always get just like flutters when I get to speak to the actors. And yet it's funny, right? And I don't think any of the people that we've spoken to would have a problem with me saying this. Sometimes the stories that we as fans want to hear about the behind the scenes things, about, what was the thought process here and all that. The actors, they're there to work. They are given, they have X amount of time to work on an episode, where you have then other people who have spent 6 months on this one episode. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like, when you want to meet with, let's say, meet with Leonard Nimoy, and you're like, "Hi, Mr. Nimoy, what was your favorite episode?" And he would have given you his answer, but like, what do you think was the thought process that went into this? And he might say, "Oh, well, this and this." Now, if you then go to Harlan Ellison, what was the thought process that went into The City on the Edge of Forever? Now, he will give you a very long and very blunt answer to that one, because that is a whole story in and of itself. But those kind of stories are the kind of things that we're getting from some of the background, behind the scenes people. It's so fascinating. So yeah, like hopefully keep listening along. As long as you keep listening, we'll keep, and as long as we haven't been like, as long as there's no restraining. I see the words restraining order in the live chat there as well. So as long as we don't get a restraining order put up against us, we'll keep going for as long as possible. But I think there's like seven ongoing cases at the moment for restraining orders. That's just me, Show. How many for you?
Oh, trust me, the court papers are closed on most of them at this point, unfortunately.
So just, okay, I'm going to go to a few more questions now from Twitter. So Show, this is from Malcolm Wood. What episode or episodes do you like that doesn't get as much fan love or mentions as it deserves?
When I read that question, what I thought about was, like, what episode of Star Trek would I, if I sat down, I randomly picked an episode of Star Trek to watch, what would it be? Like, I always kind of feel that, like, if you're watching, I always feel that sometimes most watch episode that you have isn't necessarily your favorite, if you know what I mean. And to me, I'm just going to be straight up front, and I'm hoping the comment section won't suddenly explode. I'm going to pick Tin Man from season 3 of The Next Generation, because I love Tin Man, and I think it's got an absolute banger of a soundtrack to it as well. I think it's in The Next Generation Volume 3, I think it is. I absolutely love Tin Man. I think there's so much going on in it, and it's an episode at least where you get Deanna Troi, who's not being completely underused or anything like that, and obviously the relationship between Tam and effectively everybody is actually really well done. I really enjoyed it, especially with Data. I've always enjoyed it as an episode. It's something that I find very easy to sit down with, like all the confrontation with the Romulans as well, and Picard, giving him stick is absolutely, it's for me, I really enjoyed it. If somebody says they don't enjoy it, I'm not remotely going to tell them that they're wrong, but I hugely enjoy watching Tin Man. How about you, Sean?
Now, perhaps unsurprisingly, I'm going to pick a DS9 episode.
Oh my God, shock horror. Oh my God,
I know,
no way.
I know, right? Just really quickly, Sean, your question of Desert Island Disc, would you take Code of Honor or Shades of Grey? Easy, Shades of Grey. Like, there's not even, I don't even need to think. My probably actually Armageddon game from season 2 of DS9. So it's one of the first really important Bashir and O'Brien episodes. So,
I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second. Travis Taylor in the comments says he picks Serpents 2. Travis, I love that episode. I always loved it. I think it's got a great heart. I think there's some great lines in it as well. So I fully endorse you on that. Sorry, Sean, please keep going.
It's fair, but like Serpent's Tooth is one that Star Trek has revisited not that long ago, with Kukulkan appeared in Lower Decks, or at least a depiction of.
As I said to you at the time as well, I thought that in the episode they should have done the William Shatner mispronunciation, because he kept calling it Kukulkan rather than Kukulkan.
I like it. But yeah, so Armageddon game, it's a good mystery thriller. It's a good reminder as well that, and this comes up as well in Hippocratic Oath, which is another fantastic Bashir O'Brien one, is that back at this point, Bashir was, the annoying kind of kid. He was the junior officer, but he was the officer, and O'Brien was always the enlisted man. And it always was very strange to see Bashir giving O'Brien orders, because it doesn't happen very often. And when it does, usually something's quite wrong. And this was, kind of one of those times where you see Bashir kind of becoming, kind of like coming into himself a little bit. It was, I only watched it there again recently. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Plus, it was nice to see the Temerian ship come back again. Oh, sorry, I mean the Calestron ship.
Hang on a second. You're saying that Star Trek reused ships more than once for different purposes? That is an absolute disgrace. What do you want about?
What you're talking about? What Meridorn ship Arctis Baran's pirate raider? Don't know what you're talking about. How did the Romulan science vessel end up on, the episode Favorite Son in Voyager? Who's to say? Who's to say? Chris is shouting about lies in the chat. Honestly, you could just assign that to anyone. He also said earlier on in the chat that myself and Chris fall out every single week when it comes to ups and downs, and I say that is not correct at all. We fall out twice a week. But then we always just become good friends again, or at least we do on my side. Now, okay, so more questions there. Oh, Chris Trekken asks, what time are you on tomorrow? Half an hour ago, Chris.
Poor Chris surely is on at this point. Oh no, Chris said he was going to be late, I think. Chris, that's very disappointing of you.
Now, so Tracker 57 actually has two questions. And one of the questions I think we've already touched on, which is, will we be going through DS9 while the War Room is happening? And I think I'm okay to say yes, because the War Room is just ongoing.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll fully endorse that statement there. There's someone in the comments section, I can't name them, who knows there's a bit more planning going on. Even you don't know it, Sean. So the person in the comment section...
And I don't know the person.
Yeah, dead right you don't. So yes, at some point we will be doing DS9. There's absolutely no doubt about it. We may have already recorded season 1, which to means we actually have recorded season 1. But we have... You were there. I distinctly remember you were there. I remember specifically you picked an episode that you enjoyed and then you accidentally realized it was crap.
Well, yeah. I would never say that about an episode on camera.
Yeah, but it's audio. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's a world of difference. A totally different thing. Like
this is true. So there's a very good question, and it does. I mean, I know I do the bulk of the War Room episodes, but this definitely will be a question to both of us as well, which is how much of a lead-in time do we tend to get with the War Room? So how much prep time? And sometimes, like we have as of right now, so 20th of February, I know that we have one booked for, I think it's 3 weeks from now. So that's great. I get to.
Is it prep time or lead-in time?
Both,
I think it was prep time. No,
like prep time is it not the same thing?
Are you saying lead-in time as in like how far ahead do we plan the interview, or are you talking about how much work we put into it, depending on kind of...
Oh, well, no. Okay, so I think the question is the same as in how much time do you have to prepare? So I would take that from the moment we book it. That's not to say that I use all of that time, but from the moment we book the interview, I think we can call that the amount of time we have for prep. Also, would the Clone Star podcast get married to the Pizza the Slut podcast?
I just read that.
Wow. That is
absolutely yes, we will. That's the answer. We didn't want to tell people, but yes, that is absolutely going to happen at the same time we record DS9 for the podcast. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the times it's not so much time as it is you just want to make sure you don't come across like, hi, who are you? Because that's just disrespectful to the guest. So as long as, if let's say I know I'm interviewing someone in 4 hours, my 4 hours are spent cramming. But sometimes I don't need to do as much because I know more about the person. Sometimes I just go over, I really should have put more in, but I tend to own up. I tend to be like, listen, I wanted to do a little bit more on this, or I wanted to do a little bit more on that. And most of the time, everyone is lovely about it. This is one time I was interviewing this Irish lad, something Hurley. Oh, he was so rude to me. So rude to me.
But I think it depends. Like, I find that when we interview people who are behind the scenes, obviously it's going to be about the work that they've done on Star Trek and things like that. But say when you're interviewing someone likes of Nicholas Meyer, and then contrast that to say Alexander Siddig, you're conscious of the fact that they've been asked a million times, like for Alexander Siddig's been asked a million times, like what's the combination on the safe in episode, whatever, 317. And like, you don't want to ask that question. You want to try and be unique in your own way, because like, it's very important that, we get one chance to talk to these people. We probably never get it again. So you don't want to come across as them, leaving the interview going, "Good Lord, like what were those guys on about?" You want to be kind of saying, "I've asked something unique, I've asked something interesting," and things like that. Like, so, like, funnily enough, most of the preparation I had done for the interview with Alexander Siddig had nothing to do with Star Trek, but the entire interview was all about Star Trek, which I was not expecting. But then with Nicholas Meyer, all the stuff I had done, I loads of questions on Star Trek 2 and 6. I think I touched like two. So like, you can kind of, and then with Dan Curry, say I read all his book and did all that kind of stuff, and still, like, there's just still so many questions that you kind of, it's tricky, like, because sometimes you don't know which way it's going to go until the interview actually starts. You can kind of say it'll go this way, it'll go that way, but it depends on which way the guests themselves want to kind of go with it as well. Like Alexander Siddig's telling us Star Trek stories for 90 minutes isn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I have to bring attention to Melissa Longo's "That Sounds Like a Saucy Podcast." That is just fantastic. That is fantastic. God. DJ Kitty Cat, the best interviewer I've seen at that is Sean Evans of Hot Ones. I have to say that I love his interview style. I think it's very, there could be quite pointed questions, but they always leave room for an answer. And I think when we're interviewing someone, I'm very conscious of, you're not coming to hear me. You can hear me any week. You're coming to hear how the guest will answer the questions. Now, obviously, there is a uniqueness in that it's this particular conversation, it's this particular interview, but like, I want to give them the platform to speak. And this show, I think, is what you were touching on before with, these larger stories from behind the scenes. Like, yes, I want to know what it was like the day they filmed the final scene of Deep Space Nine. Sure, I would love to know what that was like. But also, I want to know what was it like on set when, it was Jeffrey Combs' last day. Although there's no such thing as Jeffrey Combs' last day, because he is currently playing both of us on this podcast right
now. He is eternal.
So you like an interview style that leaves a guest in pain? Yes, basically. That is, yeah. I want people to physically know that they've been at an interview with us. Yeah, 100%.
Actually, one thing we have to work on as well, and it happened in both the Nicholas Meyer interview and the Alexander Siddig one, is when the guests come on, we just chat away to them because we're Irish. We don't shut up and we have a laugh. But unfortunately, both Nicholas Meyer and Alexander Siddig thought we'd actually started recording. So we actually missed out on one or two really good stories. No one will ever hear them outside of me and Sean. Will never tell you. And they were brilliant and they were glorious. And they never made it to the podcast. So we're really sorry about that. Yeah, we're not really sorry about that at all. We heard them.
Not even a little bit.
No. Thing. Also, Sean, why haven't you got Jeffrey Combs on the podcast yet? What's going on there?
It's not for want of trying, but the man is busy. The man owes me nothing. The man is busy. Yes, Chris Thompson there. Get a new joke, Sean. Shan't. So we do have some pretty cool names lined up. Can't say anything yet, just in case they don't happen. In case, they're kind of like, John, actually, never mind this podcast. These guys aren't very nice at all. We won't record with them.
You mean Patrick Stewart is cancelled on us? Oh my God, no! Why?
This is the one thing I told you not to say. The one thing. As punishment, you watch Move Along Home. Alan Moraine, count to 4. Alan Moraine.
Errol, if you listen to our DS9 season 1 review, it might be in there. I can't remember. Did you pick it? Because I didn't. Oh, you did you? Oh, dear God.
Oh, I definitely picked it. Move Along Home gets way more hate than it deserves. I mean, it does deserve some hate, but it gets more than it deserves. I will say that. Now, what else can I shock? All right, Joseph. This is from John Preeper. What is the best memory that sticks out because of Trek? Is it an episode? Is it meeting an actor?
I'd say, like, jeepers, that's a really good question. I'd actually have to say it was meeting Jonathan Frakes at Dublin Comic Con a couple of years ago. Like, you know, like this is the first time I ever met somebody from Star Trek outside of like the Leonard Nimoy story is another story. But meeting Jonathan Frakes, I remember kind of just before we got up to him, I was there going like there's no way he's going to be as cool as I think he is. Like this guy's Will Riker, coolest man in the galaxy, and I was there. Nah, he won't be. He won't be as cool. And he was even more cool than I thought he was going to be. So cool to the extent where his manager, handler, when I called it, actually had to tell him to shut up talking to us because we were actually having such a good laugh with him. And it was absolutely glorious. Like, and like I'm 40 now, so I was 37 at the time. Like as a 37-year-old, I was like a kid. I was so happy. I was there going, that man is absolutely brilliant, and he's exactly what I was hoping he would be. Because again, you kind of grow up with him, and like it's hard at times to separate the actor from the character, and you're kind of there going, nah, he's sound. Surely you didn't want to have a situation where he wasn't, and then they would always kind of be with you. But no, meeting Jonathan Frakes for me was absolutely the best. It was absolutely glorious. He was brilliant. How about you, Sean?
I love that. I have a just want to just Ryan there. Move Along Home is definitely an 850 episode. Well, I mean, I would say a top 850. Yep, absolutely. It's definitely there. It's definitely in that list of episodes. And Andrew, thank you very much. You seem nice to us too. I am so lucky that I get to say I have a couple of stories. I think everyone at this stage probably knows my Terry Farrell story. So I've one from Star Trek Las Vegas. Now I cannot I'm going to be an awful tease. I can't go into all the details about it, but John Billingsley is great crack. I will say that he came to one of our parties with I have to pronounce this correctly. Gaze in Space. Sorry, they have my family and they won't give them back if I don't say it like that. He is there. There's no airs or graces. There's no airs or graces. He's just good fun, and I'm so lucky as a fan that I got to meet some people outside of cons, because cons by their very nature can be very regimented. They can be very like you get your 15 seconds with the actor, and then through no fault of the actors, maybe they're not everything you wanted it to be because they only have 15 seconds, and obviously you want to spend as much time as possible with them. So some beverages were consumed, and it was good crack. And then I remember at that same party turning around to see Robert Picardo leaning against the bar. Clearly he was tired, he was done for the day, and I was like, that's ridiculous. And what I will say is that I used to think I knew what tall was. And then I saw Cirroc Lofton walking through the vendor room in Star Trek Las Vegas. And I thought, my neck doesn't go back far enough. Because, my God, they took every inch that they didn't give me and added it to his height.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. The main man, Cirroc, exactly. Yeah, the main man being, I think Cirroc, he's kind of like he's like a starbase, and we,
Why haven't you got Cirroc on the show yet? Actually, this is the second time I'm asking this question because I'm just going to keep on doing it like until
because I would love to have Cirroc on the show because I've so much I want to ask him, but also I just don't like him. That's what it is, show. Now you've put me on the spot. I don't like. I'm of course joking. Cirroc is a lovely
To be fair though, I actually hear he doesn't like you as well. So there is that.
Good. That's there we are. I'm just going to pause my camera and cry for a few minutes. But that is gas. That is gas. Now, have we got any more? It's actually 6'15". That's about right. Yeah. 6 foot. Yeah, they've invented a new measurement scale for him. So, actually, I have one really, really quick one, and then I promise we'll go to the next question, which is, I think it was, we talked about this. I think it's at that same convention. I think we were there on different days. That when you met Frakes, I met Doug Jones.
Oh, I met Doug Jones as well. Yeah, he made me and my friends pick him up and carry him.
And he did. I saw the picture. Yes,
that was absolutely fine by us. Absolutely brilliant crack. Yeah.
So myself and my very good friend Inda, we queued. It was funny. She was there less of a Trek fan and more of he had played the gentleman in Buffy. He was obviously in Hocus Pocus, now in part 2 as well, and of course Pan's Labyrinth. So we were both there. We kind of had the few things covered, and he was just so lovely. He was just so lovely and gave us a hug. This was obviously pre-apocalypse times, and I was just so lovely. So I literally like that was just my story. Doug Jones is lovely. Yay,
Because you've told that story
focus.
now, I'm going to have to tell my Leonard Nimoy story really quickly, even though it's not a long story. Sorry, it's a long story. Yes, what am I about? So back in 1995, Leonard Nimoy was coming to Dublin to sign a copy of his book, I Am Spock. I actually, even more funny, I went into Eason's to buy it and there was no price tag on it. A member of staff had to ring down and she said, "Oh, can I get a price for a book? It's I Am Spook by Leonard Naomi." And I said, "Oh my God." Anyway, that was fine. So went to Dublin with my brother and his girlfriend, now wife, and we queued up. I think he was on coming out 12 o'clock. We were there at 10. So they said, "Look, we're going to leave you here. We're going to go off and do some shopping. We'll come back at 12 when he comes out. We'll get photos and blah, 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 and all that." It was all fine. So standing for about 2 hours. I think it was like sixth person in the queue. So it was about 5:12 comes along. Start looking around, no sign of my brother. Time was getting closer. Still no sign. Leonard Nimoy comes out. Still no sign. And the queue starts moving, still no sign. And I was cheaper, so I was 12 at this point. And went up anyway, got the book signed, still couldn't find my brother. And I was kind of there going, no, he was definitely here. He said he was going to be here, definitely here. And no sign of him. And then I started crying because that's, of course, what I was going to do. And my brother finally arrived. I can't remember how long later it was. It felt like an eternity. And he was there, "Oh my God, so sorry, so sorry, so sorry. There was an incident. We couldn't get back in time. Really sorry." And I was just such an emotional state. I said, "No, look, it's fine. Whatever, it's fine." I just wanted to go home and cry and never speak about this ever again. But he made me go back into the queue and go back up again. And then Nimoy kind of looks at the book and he says, "Oh, I've already signed this." And I didn't have the wherewithal to say to him, So I went off. That was fine. Went home. I wouldn't speak about it for years. And a couple of years ago, I was going back through an old photo album. There was pictures of me with the book and all that. And my sister-in-law said, "Oh, that was the day we went shopping and forgot about you." And I said, "What?" I said, I was told it was an emergency." And she went, "Oh, no, we just forgot about you and just told you that to make you feel better." Thanks. Thanks very much for that.
I mean, but being forgotten about, but you meet Leonard Nimoy. I mean, like in terms of yeah, okay, no, it's pretty bad. But you got to meet Leonard Nimoy, like.
Well, I still look. I have the book and the bookmark all framed downstairs in the house because I couldn't not do that with the book.
So that every time they come over to visit, it's just this framed memory of shame. Shame. Oh, it's like, oh, hey, do you remember that wonderful, wonderful day? Yeah, you abandoned a child. Anyway, so yeah, it's like, oh, is that your memory to Star Trek? Partly. That is absolutely hilarious. I mean, sorry, because I know that you turned out okay. Well, actually, no, you turned out as a Trekkie, so actually, maybe not.
I've got a question for you, Sean. There was one of the questions that we actually had on Twitter. What's your favorite Star Trek book?
Stitch in Time. Oh, actually, A Stitch in Time is definitely up there. The Andrew Robinson Garrick book. But I have to say,
Andrew Garfield book. So, wait a second. When did Andrew Garfield write a Star Trek book?
Yeah, it's the sequel. It's actually a Web in Time. Thank you. I'm here all
Garrick
week.
Teaming up with Spider-Man in the 24th century to solve crimes on Cardassia.
Do you want to hear it? Let us know in the comments if that's something you want to hear. No, sorry. That probably is my favorite in terms of actually reading experience. Is I did the audiobook of the autobiography of Catherine Janeway. So that was written by Dr. Una McCormack and read by Kate Mulgrew. Now that's brilliant. It's just a great experience overall. So like, but then I have so many others. Like I love the Destiny trilogy. You know, I love pretty much anything Michael Jan Friedman touches. So like, but I'll stick to it. Reading on the page, A Stitch in Time, experience it being an audiobook, autobiography of Catherine Janeway. Show, same question.
Well, see, I've always won for kind of like episode guides and the like TNG 365 is absolutely it's a great kind of read. Like Dan Curry's book is cool as well. But when I was younger, I was mad into audiobooks. I absolutely loved audiobooks. I think the first one I got was I think it was TNG's crossover written by our friend Michael Jan Friedman, but read by Jonathan Frakes. Now, if you haven't listened to any audiobook by Jonathan Frakes, for the love of God, please find one and buy it and listen, because he puts on impersonations of all the characters and his Picard. Look, we've seen a small bit in the Pegasus when he does, when he
Yes, yeah.
impersonates Picard. But like when you have a full speech by Picard in Jonathan Frakes' voice, it is absolutely glorious. Like, so there was that, there was Imzadi, there was Prime Directive. Now, I have been told the Prime Directive was kind of butchered between the book and the audiobook, but I love the audiobook. It was like James Doohan is actually great for doing the voice as well. He's actually really good. But if you're looking for entertainment value, Jonathan Frakes, you just can't beat it. It's hilarious listening to him do the voices. It's really funny.
That is, it's great. I'm only working through Trek audiobooks now. I've done, for example, Relics, James Doohan,
Yep.
and I have to actually, I've just seen Travis saying about George Takei. George Takei did The Voyage Home, and that was good. That was good fun.
He did Enterprise: The First Adventure as well, which is actually a really good book too. Like, it's actually just the very first voyage of Kirk being in charge of Enterprise. It's really enjoyable, actually.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no.
Gates McFadden does them as well. Actually, she's again, she's really good at kind of doing the voice well. I think I saw Connor put in about Reunion, a Stargazer book, and it is read by Gates McFadden as well, if I remember that correctly. I think that's written by Michael Jan Friedman as well.
God, you mean you don't know? Oh, Joseph.
I absolutely do not know. No, I have to check.
I love it. Lionel, you're very here. Better late than never. That's absolutely great. And Heath, lovely to see you there in the comments as well. Thank you everyone who's commenting along. We've a couple more minutes left.
Oh, hang on. Rashid, our good friend Rashid, has said he'd listen to Kate Mulgrew audiobook. I think Kate Mulgrew did what was the name? There was a Voyager one that she did as well. I still have the tape of it. Yes, that's right. I still have tapes. Would you believe it? Tapes did exist once. We used tapes and we used to use Walkman. Would you believe that? Good Lord.
Does anyone else here remember what a tape is? Like, did you have to convert it from your 8-track show?
Do you remember when you had to, steal like batteries from your remote controls and all that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
So you could actually do terrible stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everyone who's liking. And while you're here, throw a subscribe on the channel as well. We promised to put stuff on it. Yeah, make sure you follow us on all the socials. Thank you very much. Cassette and videotape, JR Pool. Does everyone in the comments know, if I was to say to you cassette and pencil, would you get the connection? And crickets. What was I going to say as well? Show, what are your hopes for Trek in kind of from here onwards? What do you hope for it?
That's a good question. I suppose I'd almost kind of there was an article, I haven't read it yet. There were quotes attributed to the man, so I don't want to paraphrase and get it wrong. But Liam Neeson came out recently, I think it was during the week, and kind of said that with all the Star Wars sequels and all that it's kind of lost a bit of its magic. I would agree with that. Like, with the exception of Andor, I haven't been hugely impressed by what Disney has put out, and it's just my concern with Star Trek is there's a lot of content coming out, like a hell of a lot, and I just don't want it to be kind of like too much product and kind of the quality drops as a result of it. Like, that'd be the worst thing in the world for us. Like, because we grew up in an era where, like, even you had the audiobook, like this was a new adventure. Like, oh my God, this is something totally different. But nowadays, it's just like every 5 seconds there's a new episode out or a new series being planned and things like that. I'm just there going, I don't want quantity to take away from the quality, because that to me would be the worst thing in the world for me as being a Star Trek fan. Now, again, look, that might be the most popular answer, but that's kind of how I feel about it. I wouldn't be but again, that's because I grew up in an era where there wasn't a whole lot of it out there. Like I was kind of growing up where like you'd one episode that was it. And then say when DS9 started with the Next Generation, things like that, you'd two, and I was kind of there going. Now it's like it's basically rolling over as quickly as possible. 5 current series going on at the moment, and it's kind of just it's flying out like a massive production line. I just would worry about all the plans for all the different series coming out that the quality will just drop off, which I wouldn't want to see happen.
I hear you. I do hear you. That wouldn't be a worry I have, but I do think it's valid because you're right. I mean, like the whole thing of the end of Enterprise was Star Trek was tired. It was, it was franchise fatigue. And even then, it was not even remotely like, Trek we have today, but like the Star Wars universe, like the MCU, this kind of this barrage of content. And we got fatigue with, at the time there was only Enterprise, and there was Star Trek Nemesis as well. So I do understand what you mean by that. Now, there was a comment there that I pick up on, which is as long as the quality stays up. I mean, that's all at the end of the day, like it needs to be of a high enough quality. But the fact that there's different Trek, and this is what we both did and we didn't have this before. The Star Trek from 1987 to 2005, it was very much, it was jumping off the same point, right? I'm not going to say they're all the same because they're all very different. DS9 is not Voyager. Voyager is not Enterprise. Voyager is very like TNG, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Whereas now, Discovery is nothing like Lower Decks. Prodigy is not like Picard. Strange New Worlds is certainly a jump off of Discovery, but it's doing its own thing. So there's something different for different bits of the audience. And I think possibly, now I might be completely way off here, but as we all know, we Trekkies can be very opinionated.
What? Oh my God, are you mad?
Know,
no,
right?
Have you gone onto Star Trek Twitter of late? It never happens. People don't fall to pieces against each other in any shape or form.
Do you know what you're talking about? But also the fact that we are so opinionated, the fact that we care so much, is what kept the franchise alive, even when it was dead at the end of the original series 3rd season. It was dead at the end of Enterprise. And yet, obviously, it didn't die. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But that passion is there. What I would love is that maybe some commenters who might look at, all of Star Trek at the moment and say, Star Trek is dead. Star Trek is... That's like, you know what? If you don't like Lower Decks, that's fine. You've got Picard Season 3. If you hate Picard, that's fine. You've got Strange New Worlds. That's kind of where I would like to see it going, that you don't have to be all or nothing. You can dip in and out. And then, but that will also say, so to the showrunners, I love crossovers. I love them all. I know we have I cannot wait for the crossover we've got coming up with Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. I still can't wait to see how that works. But let them be their own thing, even though they're all more or less coming out at the same time. And I think if you do that, then you literally will have Trek for everyone. It's been said there a couple of times, Trek for every different mood. And as Chris said as well, you've got infinite diversity and infinite combinations. It is literally what Star Trek is about. So let's hope they continue with that. And I think we're in a good place. I think we are, because no one can watch Lower Decks and say it's the exact same as the original series. And that's fine. You know what I mean? We need something different, because if we wanted the same thing all the time, we'd still be making the original series.
Well, that's it. I think the problem we have at the moment is that it just, and it's not related just to Star Trek kind of thing. I think every opinion can be polarized very quickly. It's,
yes.
everyone should just be allowed to watch with, like, for God's sake, I said I love Tin Man. Like, come on, like, most people don't like Tin Man. I love Tin Man, and I wouldn't appreciate if someone said you can't watch that. It's crap. It's here's all the problems with it. Like, I don't care. So in the same way, like, if somebody in the comment section or you, Sean, said, "Oh, I enjoyed this," like, that's fine. You do you. You enjoy it. That's absolutely cool. It wouldn't bother me if somebody said that. Like, I've seen, tweets on Twitter that I flat out wouldn't agree with, like, but I'm not going to ball in onto the comments and say you're wrong and here's why you're wrong. Like, that holds no appeal to me whatsoever. Like, so again, look, the important thing for Star Trek Ahead for me, then, if we're going to just ditch the shows for a second, is this: let's just be nice to each other about what we like. And it's important that you can dislike something, and then, like, but people don't have to say no, you have to like it. In the same way, you can like it and not have people say no, you have to dislike it. Like, just enjoy what you want to enjoy. If you don't like something, then don't watch it. Or at least just give it a go and say, well, look, I tried and and it's not for me, and that's absolutely fine. There's no problem with that. Like, that's one of the other things as well, is when we started the Clone Star podcast, one of the things we specifically said is we're not going to get dragged into those kind of debates, and that's what we've done. Everything we've done has all been about positivity, and we hope that's what comes across.
Yep. I think that is what a wonderful place to wrap up. Everyone, thank you so much for joining along with us this evening. This hour has flown by. Everyone, the link is in the description of this episode, but make sure you hop over now to Brian Volk-Weiss's channel. He's a Star Trek documentarian and an animated show producer. So basically, he is a combination of what me and Show want to be when we grow up. So thank you so much, everyone. Remember, whatever is going on in your life, wherever you are, if you're a Trekkie, you're a part of a family. And, we may be like normal family and tear each other apart, but then all someone has to do is just pull out a game of Trivial Pursuit and away we go. So, Virtual TrekCon, thank you so much for having us. Ryan, Melissa, everyone, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining along. And Show, as ever, thank you for being my wonderful co-host.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, everybody. Live long and prosper, everybody.
Live long and prosper, everyone. Bye. 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 Bye.